Do you cut or bulk first? Because whether you've been weightlifting for a while or you're new to the gym entirely, this is a decision that's going to really influence the next year because you've got to pick one and commit to it. You can't chop and change throughout the process. But to answer that question, it's not a case of do I cut or bulk? It's more so, what have I got to work with? Now, I'm speaking incredibly broad brush with what I'm about to say, because I don't know your experience, your starting point, your goals, or anything in that realm. But this is just a really simplified way of helping you decide to start somewhere. And it comes down to a yes or no question, which is, can you see your abs? And it sounds incredibly vain, but it's not meant to be. I've done a couple of photo shoots. I've reverse dieted and done the bulks to know that this ab test saves a lot of that overthinking. And it works because if you can see your abs, you're at a lean enough body fat percentage that a bulk may be the better option for you. Abs are often the first thing to go in a bulk or the last thing to fully show in a cut, given where we all store body fat, so it's a quick measurable that you can go by. You of course could still cut first, even if you can see your abs now, and I'm going to come on to that in a minute. But if you can't see your abs without really trying and manipulating the lighting in your favour, then I'd recommend that you cut first. And I say this approach of cutting first because when you're already carrying body fat, bulking will only make that composition softer. You'll build muscle effectively blind because that muscle is going to be hidden under the existing body fat that you're carrying. When you give yourself that calorie surplus, that bulk and that surplus you're giving will be hard to measure to know whether the calories are going towards muscle growth or whether they're just being stored as extra fat on top of what you've got. So when I said earlier, if you can see your abs but you choose to cut anyway, I think that makes sense because it allows you to really trim back to a lean blank canvas, and you'll have a much better way of knowing if that lean bulk is working for you and going into your muscles rather than just being stored as fat. And by lean, I'm saying that you can see clear definition in your shoulders, your chest, and your abs, even if they're not fully there yet. Now, of course, a bulk sounds far more exciting than a cut. It's an excuse to eat more food, like really test yourself with the weights, but it's a much bigger mental game than you may realize. You've got to be comfortable seeing yourself getting bigger and not necessarily more muscular, especially if you're not taking your training to an appropriate intensity level for progressive overload through hypertrophy training. And if you want to see what training sessions should look like, you can check out the pop-up or in the link below as to how I take my sessions to failure. Now, notice how throughout this video I've just been describing this as a lean bulk. You need to ditch this dirty bulk mindset of wearing big baggy clothing through winter and using it as an excuse to flood yourself with calories. A lean bulk is key, because you want to be sure that the surplus you put yourself into is just enough to fuel your sessions, encourage muscle growth, whilst minimizing fat gain. So it's going to continue to be that ever balancing calories in versus calories out, but as a general rule, you want to be gaining up to, it's 0.5 to 1% body weight per month in a lean bulk. Now I'm talking general principles here, like I said. So genetics and years of lifting experience will play a part in those numbers. But as a general rule, it's a starting point. And you can start with calorie calculators for those calories if you need the bulk numbers, or you can follow the link below for 4 weeks of free fat loss coaching, in which I provide you the package and the tools that you need to help you find your deficit. Because you've got to remember this takes time. So those calories, you need to allow 3-4 weeks for fluctuations, water weight, and the food volume to adjust and be reflected on the scales and in your measurements. So a couple of weeks of tracking regularly is the point that you need to do before you make tweaks and changes. Fat gain is going to be inevitable in the build phase. So you just want to be on the cusp of maintenance and into surplus so that you're not then piling on the masses unnecessarily. Protein, that stays high throughout, regardless of your surplus. And the other perk of a lean bulk is that you're going to be building on top of a physique that's going to look good all year round. You won't have to explain yourself if you ever find yourself in getting changed or talking programs or even poolside on short notice, because those scenarios happen. You'll be able to see and measure the gains you put on far more accurately when the muscle's not hidden beneath the mass of water and fat. And then mentally, it's far more enjoyable. It's refreshing building lean and seeing it on top of your body rather than building blind and hoping that you've got something to show for it at the end of all of this lean bulk and all of the effort that you put in. And when that end does come, some 8 to 12 months later as a minimum, which you need to notably put on size, you'll have a far shorter fat loss phase if you started from that lean base. So the answer to cut or bulk isn't what you prefer. It's what you can see in the mirror.